And welcome back to Restless. I'm Father Joseph Gill, priest of the Diocese of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and you've joined myself, Lauren, and Matt as we dive deeper into what it means to be a young adult Christian in today's modern, crazy, mixed-up world as we restlessly seek the face of God. I can no longer say restlessly. That's a word that's I'm stumbling over.
That's a tough word.
Apparently. So today we're going to talk about truth and lies. And, you know, as a priest, one of the things that has shocked me a lot hearing confessions is how often people confess lying. Maybe I lie less than the regular population. I don't know. But everyone lies. So we're going to start off by playing a game, Two Truths and a Lie. So you guys are going to mention 3 facts about yourself, 2 of which are true, and 1 of which is a lie. And the other 2 have to guess which one is the lie. So
I'm up first.
Matt, you're going first?
Okay.
Go for it.
2 truths and a lie. I have a severe peanut allergy. I went trick-or-treating with Cyndi Lauper. And I went to Trinity Catholic High School in Stamford, Connecticut.
Do you have thoughts here?
Well,
I know him a few more months than me since I just met him
I know
a few hours ago.
I know he is a Trinity grad.
Okay, so that's a truth.
But, I mean,
So-
nobody knows Cyndi Lauper
Well,
unless
but-
you're, friends with Cyndi Lauper.
Maybe it's some random thing, though, so I would say the peanut thing is a lie.
I'm going to say that Cyndi Lauper's a lie.
The Cyndi Lauper
Is the lie?
was true.
Oh, it's what? So, tell the story.
I went trick-or-treating with a friend of mine, and I believe her son played hockey with my friend. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Also, plot twist. I definitely accidentally told 3 true things.
Oh, seriously?
Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because I don't lie.
Oh, well played, sir. Well played. In that case, I'm giving you a peanut butter sandwich
But also,
tonight.
this is a lie, so I do lie.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That
I don't lie was a lie.
Wait, what? That just got...
Very
on.
meta and confusing.
Very meta. I'm confused now.
All right, is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Okay, I have played Ultimate in half of the states of United States of America.
It's 25 states.
I've never had a cup of coffee, and I've performed the national anthem at a professional sporting event.
Ooh. So we determined on our last episode about music that she has a good voice. So I'm guessing the national anthem is probably legit.
Look at me. Yeah, it's legit.
and the sporting event was probably an ultimate game, I'm guessing.
Was it Ultimate Frisbee or Super Smash Brothers Ultimate?
No, Super. So she is actually a professional ultimate Frisbee player.
No way.
That is a true statement. That is a true statement.
I did not know that. That is vital information.
It is, yeah. So now you know that number 1 could very well be true.
What?
But 25 states is a lot of states to play ultimate in, and I think that might be a little bit of a stretch.
I don't know if she's a professional.
She is, like no one goes to Alaska to play Frisbee.
Yeah, but that could be one of the ones she didn't go to.
That's true.
49 states that aren't Alaska, so
Yeah,
That
man,
is true.
she's given a good
These are
good
tough.
shake for this one. What was the other one?
I've never had a cup of coffee.
Question: did you also accidentally tell 3 things that are true? Okay, then it has
No.
to be that one.
I thought about this.
She knows how to play this game. So I'm going with the Frisbee in 25 states.
Okay.
I think it's got to be the coffee.
Okay,
And the answer is.
so it's the first one. I've played Ultimate in 24 states.
Oh my gosh.
The 25th state is Wisconsin, which I have been to for Ultimate 3 times, but I didn't actually play there. So the first time I traveled there for nationals, we stayed in Wisconsin, but we played in Illinois. The second time I was there in 2019 with the New York Empire when the team competed in the semifinals, but I wasn't rostered. So I was there. I was rooting for the team on the sideline. And then the third time was supporting the Eurostars Tour, which is a women's ultimate Frisbee tour that I work on and help run across the country. We go to 7 cities from California, San Diego, Seattle, Madison, Raleigh, Boston, sometimes New York, once Toronto. It goes literally all over, and I just kind of run the event. So Wisconsin is that 25th state. But yeah, I've played in 24.
That's pretty good. But
I tallied them up.
So you've never had a cup of coffee?
I've never had a cup of coffee. No, I hate it.
Well, how do you know if you hate it if you never had one?
Oh, because I smell it. Or sometimes people are like, "You want to try this?" I'm like, "I don't like coffee," but okay, because you just offered it to me. I'm like, "Nope, still don't like coffee."
We'll have to get you one of those like super sweet frappuccinos that doesn't.
It still tastes like coffee.
Yeah,
yes, no, I'm telling you.
Get one of those girly drinks, like a mocha latte venti or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I totally don't like.
My last one.
That was a lie.
You're right, Father. It was Ultimate Frisbee.
Did you saying
Yeah,
that
it
next
was. I performed the anthem twice for the New York Empire.
Nice.
Once as a
Very
player,
cool.
and then the year after.
Nice.
Yeah.
I gotta say, you being a professional Frisbee player is just like ultimate Frisbee player. I want to get my terms right, you know?
No, yeah, you're good.
That is just awesome.
Thank you.
All right, here's my three truths. Two truths and a lie. So I was born on Friday the 13th. One time, Matt Maher opened for me in concert, and that could be a lie, Matt. Don't let your
I did
jaw
really
drop
openly
open.
gape at that.
You did, and I have published 3 books with our Sunday Visitor Press.
I know you've at least published 2 books.
What was the first
Pretty
one?
sure.
I was born on Friday the 13th.
I was born April 13th, a Friday. It's not a lie. It's the truth.
Wow.
And
That was a little stalkerish, but okay.
we covered that.
That's right, we did. Oh, yeah, I guess that wasn't
That's
an
good that
episode.
you know that,
That
'cause
wasn't
that's
an
what I was
episode.
going to guess.
Remembered. I don't know who this Matt Maher guy is.
Well, he's pretty big, so I'm going to say that's true just because I believe in you.
Thank you.
Well, could this have been years ago before that guy was big?
It could have.
Okay.
But I'm actually I'm gonna stick with that. He was at his, greatest height, and that is when he opened for you.
All right. I'm going to go with the books.
I'm going with the books.
I don't know if you've done 3. I think you've definitely done 2.
You guys are correct. That was the lie.
Okay.
I actually have published 2 books,
Nice.
not with our Sunday Visitor Press, but yeah, Matt Maher opened for me at a concert back in 2009.
No
It was
way.
it was kind of a funny story because it was a retreat that we were both playing together, and I got to play because he had to leave and go back to Arizona. So he played the first half of the retreat, and I played the second half. So I tell people Matt Maher
Ah.
opened for me.
He very
Nice.
technically
He definitely opened
you.
for me. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I never met him, but
I like that.
no, he was big back then. Oh my gosh! But so lies is something that we all do and can often do very well. Have you ever told a lie that's gotten you in big trouble?
I'm a pretty honest person, actually. I
That's
think
good.
I'm almost too honest. Where
Ooh, that can backfire
Yeah,
too.
I have the alternate problem where I'll be like, "That's dumb," or and people are.
How'd
so
you like this
offended.
dish? Disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I have certain, I have some awareness, but I certainly catch myself where I'm like, "Oh shoot, that hurt their feelings." But in my mind, I'm like,
Right.
if this is a fact, like this is dumb what we're doing right now, or I'm
Right.
not insulting you. I'm just commenting on this
Your food.
situation.
This thing that you did or said
Yeah.
or
Right.
you're wearing.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten in trouble with a lie.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
I don't know if there's a specific example of when I've gotten in trouble. I'm sure there is. Let's clear that up. I'm sure there have been times I've gotten in trouble for telling a lie, especially, as like an adolescent person.
Yeah.
But I think that usually stems from like if I was making an excuse of some kind, not necessarily like just flat out lying to somebody, but like trying to like telling a half truth, and then being very clearly caught in it. And they're like, so that was only sort of true, right? You kind of have to own up.
Well, that's probably why most people lie, don't you think? Is
Yeah.
to get out of trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I can also see like, sometimes it's like you almost use a lie to not offend somebody. Like, what do you think of this? Oh, it's great. Maybe it's not great, but you don't want to hurt their feeling,
Yeah.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
I find in my own life too, sometimes I don't want to reveal what I'm doing. Like even if it was my manager or my former boss, it was just me and my boss. And if I had something to do, like if once a friend wanted to have lunch, should I technically be having lunch with a friend? No, but it's my lunch, so I can go. You know what I mean? But like I don't want to tell him, because he might judge me or something. Like, why are you having lunch with your friend during the workday? He was kind of a grumpy boss,
Yeah.
So
Right.
To avoid confrontation.
yeah.
Right.
Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
fair, or would that be something that should be confessed? Because I never thought that it should, but then you're saying a lot of people confess lying. So I'm like, oh man, am I missing this?
I mean, I think it's a lie. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is.
It's a lie.
You should confess it.
Sure, because it makes you less of an honest person.
Okay.
Right? Because if we're going to lie on the small things, it becomes much easier to lie on the bigger things. Did you get the
Right.
project done? Oh, yeah, it's done. It's done. You're like, oh, shoot, I got to do that tonight now.
I'm sure there's tons of kids that do that, right? Is your homework done?
Kids,
Yeah,
adults
Mom.
too.
Oh, sure. Did you get that assignment done? Like, what's the progress on this? Did you paint the bedroom yet? I mean, that
Yeah.
would be obvious. But
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's a struggle, and I'm constantly amazed how many people do struggle with it. And
I think it's easy to fall into. It's super easy to do because the only person really stopping you from lying is yourself. So the second you've got that opening, it's like you have to really consciously decide to tell the truth sometimes.
although I find that when I consider what the effects of if the truth was known later on, if I lie to my boss and say, oh, I'll get the project's done, and he finds out 2 weeks later the project was never done, that could have a hugely more detrimental effect than if at the moment I was just like, look, I'm sorry, I didn't get it done. I'm going to try really hard. And he'd be like, okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or it could be like, you're fired. I don't know.
Depends on your boss.
Right.
Because that's so true that like when you lie, you get in more trouble than if you had just told the truth. Almost always. If you get found out.
Yes. And I also think for myself, I would forget what I said.
Mm.
Like if you make up some alternative explanation, right? Then the next day or something, you have to remember what you said that wasn't true because you went out and
Right.
did the truth, right? So I think
Right.
I don't think I would actually remember. or,
That's
like,
what
keep
happened to me
track.
at the beginning of this episode. I was trying to figure out, I was like, what did I say for the first two?
Oh.
That's why I forgot and told a third truth.
It's true. You do have to remember. And that's why being
Yeah,
honest
not
is,
lying.
because I mean, ultimately you can lie to your boss, you can lie to your spouse, you can lie to anybody, but you can't lie to God.
Yeah.
He knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as we may want to hide it and be like, oh Lord, you don't know this, I'm going to do what I want to do. And obviously he knows us all the way to the heart.
Can I ask, do you notice, is it like men or women who confess lying more, or is it equal?
It's equal.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah,
equal.
I wondered, I thought maybe, because I see that sometimes in relationships with men and women, right? It's kind of the woman that maybe can sort of be more of the nag, right? And then the man's like, yes, it's done, or yeah. So I kind of wondered if that might play out, but I guess we all lie, so.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't know if women do this, but men lie and exaggerate to try to make themselves look better in the eyes of others.
Mm.
Yeah,
it's like a vanity almost.
Ego.
like
Yeah.
an ego
Yeah.
boost.
Mhm.
Like, that fish was this big. No, it wasn't. It was like a foot.
Sin against
it's
modesty.
very
Yeah.
much so. Yeah,
Yeah.
sin against modesty, innocent against truth. And
And sometimes you have to just humble yourself. Like, how did it go today? If you're saying fishing, you might want to say like, oh yeah, I caught the biggest fish. But it'd be like, oh, well, I didn't catch anything today.
right.
Right.
Like it's a little humbling, right? Especially if someone's expecting something of you, but things
Yeah.
don't always work out, and that's okay. It's good to be humbled.
It is. And yeah, I think just being a person of integrity is a good enough result. So other things may not go your way. Your boss may think less of you. Your wife may think less of you. But as long as you're still a person of integrity, you can stand with your head held high,
Yeah. Since we're talking about like confessing lying, I think that one of the places that you can be tempted the most to lie is in confession, because you've got this fear of, well, am I going to be forgiven? And I believe it was C.S. Lewis said that the reason people make excuses in confessing to God, now he wasn't Catholic, I don't think, so I doubt he meant in confession, was because they fear, they don't realize that the excuse almost is in the way of the forgiveness. If you're just open and honest, like that's it.
Yeah.
You will be forgiven.
Yeah, and I think people worry about what will the priest think of me if I confess all these sins.
Yeah.
I can totally say that's where I That was a big hurdle I had to get over, is just feeling judged, even in private confession. Just thinking maybe like, oh, maybe he's never heard this before, right? Of course he has. Or, like, just whatever, like, I fabricate, and then there's some wonderful priests, right? You kind of conquer that fear, I guess. Like, you say it, and for me, I push it off to the end, and then you say it, and then I love Father Mark from St. Catherine's. He'll just say, thank the Lord for a wonderful confession, and he just moves on. Like, it doesn't matter what was said. It's just thank the Lord for your wonderful confession. I'm like, oh, thank you, Father Mark.
Right.
Not every priest is like that, though. Sometimes they're
true.
like, why are you doing that? How many times did you do that? You shouldn't be doing that. I'm not thinking of anyone in particular, but I've certainly heard stories.
I've been to a few confessions that was the response I got. Yeah.
Right.
But when we come back, we're going to talk more about how to live in the truth and how to discern in today's world what is true and what is false. Stay tuned. And welcome back to Restless. We've been telling the truth today about what it's like to lie. I don't know if that's an oxymoron right there, but it's difficult to tell the truth. And especially, in today's world, I think it's becoming more and more difficult to decipher what is true and what is false in the media, in what politicians are saying, and what leaders are saying. And it can be really tough to find that out. I mean, we've got this whole idea of fake news, that people talk about, and this is fake news. Well, how can you, Lauren and Matt, how do you in today's world, like when you read the newspaper, when you look at an online source, like how do you know what's true and what's false? What's your go-to?
Well, I would say I don't really watch the news, first of all, and I don't really want to. It's so much opinion, right?
That's so true.
Like, let's say the presidential debates, right? They're always analyzed by every station, but I've had this experience I felt since high school where I would watch the debate and I would get my take on it, right? And then you hear, right, if it's the Democrats, they're totally bashing the Republican. It's the Republicans, they're bashing the Democrats. And I'm like, they're taking what they said out of context. They're kind of skewing, right? And that to me is always a clear example of how you can see the media persuading the story to fit the narrative that they want to tell you. And of course, I think in more recent times, that's just gone to the total extreme.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I know that for this last election, I think that this is like probably the most prominent example of trying to decipher fake news, or at least the most important, because so much was at stake. One of the things that I did is I tried to watch what I knew was a Democrat-leaning station in CNN, and then what I knew is a Republican-leaning station in Fox. And I was like, okay, so what can I take from these two? And try and contrast and compare. I also think that it's important to know it, like, I guess because I'm sticking with politicians, right, in this example, but it's, like, important to know what they stand for, right? So, like, the odds are Joe Biden, obviously a very pro-choice candidate, probably isn't going to come out with something that's, like, super pro-life, right? So I think it's it's almost like knowing your background information.
Sure. Sure.
Other than that, Twitter, obviously a very reputable source.
I think another key, is just if you're hearing something reported about something somebody said, you should definitely listen to the quote yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Because they'll take part of the quote, or they'll just flip it, and then I'll hear this even sometimes when they play the quote. Like, there'll be some da 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 said this, and then they'll play the quote, and I'm like, oh, you didn't actually say that. Like, from what you're just playing for me right now. So, and I just feel like we're getting to this point where people just take what they're hearing as the truth, right? Because it's their news source, whatever it is. It's like, no, you have to use your own logic and reasoning and decipher all of this for yourself.
And a lot of people only look at sound bites. a sentence is all they can handle, when truth is actually a lot more complicated than that. And especially not only with politics, but I find a lot with what the media reports on Pope Francis.
Mm-hmm.
They'll pick a line from this, a line from that, and just kind of quote him out of context, and then make it seem like he's different than he is and saying different things. So for me, one of the biggest things, and whether political or scientific, is to go back to like the primary sources if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to like what's actually going on. Like if you're quoting the Pope, okay, let's go to the papal document. I want to see exactly what he said. What was the context?
Right. It's I heard this thing once that a little bit separate of a topic, sort of, but it was like if you're quoting the Bible in support of a certain idea, right? Don't read me the one verse. Read me the 3 before and the 3 after.
Yes.
Like give me the context of this. How is this even being used within Scripture?
That's very true. I had a funny experience of that today. I was I'm chaplain of Cardinal Kung Academy in Stanford, and our principal got up there, and we decided we were going to read a little scripture verse in front of the entire school, and she reads us like 2 verses from Isaiah about how the silversmith helps the woodcutter, and the woodcutter helps the iron maker. And she's like, well, this is all about cooperation. And I'm looking at this chapter from Isaiah. It's about how they all help make idols. It's like, you probably didn't mean to quote this particular passage
Right.
when you're looking for something about cooperation, but
Right.
they're cooperating in sin.
Right.
But
And back to Pope Francis, the other key is translating properly and
Yeah.
accurately, and like what is he saying in Spanish, right? And what's the actual use of the word? Because I've heard that too, like translations kind of not actually following his meaning.
yeah, very much so. And kind of going along with that, I think one thing that's so important for us, especially today, is to be so deeply grounded in what the church actually teaches.
So many of us aren't.
And so we are swayed by the public opinion, because you're like, oh, well, this politician says this and this priest says that, and you're like, well, is that true? Or is it not true? And I heard an interesting kind of quote that, when people are looking for counterfeit dollar bills or counterfeit hundreds, they don't study the counterfeits. They study the real one, so that they know it inside and out, so they can notice when something's off, right? And that's how we should be with our faith. We don't study the errors and the lies that people are telling us. We study the true thing, so that we can recognize the errors when they come.
That's very valid.
Yeah.
And there's so many, I think, misconceptions, unfortunately, about the Catholic Church, even within the faithful, because we just don't know our own faith enough.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the first challenge. So read the Catechism, or read Catholic Christianity by Peter Kreeft, because it's a great book that covers the Catechism in a way you can understand and is legible. And I started rereading that again, actually, just recently, because I'm like, I need a refresher, what do we actually believe,
Right.
and then you can have something to stand on, when you get into maybe a difficult conversation with somebody. Oh, well, the Catholic Church, they hate the Protestants. They want nothing to do with them. I just kind of felt like I encountered this, and I'm like, I don't think we do. I think Catholics just, like, I don't know, like being Catholic because of the true presence of God. I don't think that they're actually, like, shunning any Protestants,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's the perception that someone out in the world kind of shared with me,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sure.
So-
Sure.
Yeah. I was gonna say, perhaps that person had met someone that was that way, though.
Yeah,
because
I
it is
guess.
possible. I mean, I remember my first week at Belmont. I met a fellow classmate who was also a freshman, and she was a Southern Baptist, and she said to me, "Oh, are you Christian?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Catholic," and she said, "Oh, I hate Catholics."
To your face.
I said, "Yeah, to my face." This was like the first time I met her.
Way to win over
And
a
I was
soul
like,
right there.
I'm sorry to hear that. My name is Matt.
I hope you don't hate me.
Yeah.
Yeah, where do you go from there?
We hung out for like a month.
That's
And then,
good, right?
yeah, we were sort of friends, but I saw past it, I suppose. But
Did you get to ask her, well, what makes you
You
hate
know,
Catholics?
I didn't. I think I just I think it caught me so off guard. Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly, she also followed that, like, I hate Catholics with like, oh, but not you. And I was
Right,
like,
yeah,
I was like,
to be
all right, yeah,
nice.
sure,
That's fair.
But
That's
it was a
fair.
very interesting, situation.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't anticipate it in my first week of college.
Yeah. So, Jesus talks a lot about truth in the Gospels. In fact, he calls himself the truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. He says the truth will set you free. Like, have you found in your own life, like, by living in the truth that you've found freedom?
Absolutely. 100%.
In what way?
I encountered sort of like a reversion conversion in college, where my junior year really came back to Christ, and it literally set me free in every single way. Like I was a slave to every single sin, which to be fair I still struggle with, but like now I have help with. There was a point where I was actively trying to convince myself that God didn't exist, and it was just so hopeless. It was just so hopeless.
I wonder if most atheists want to be atheists so that they don't have to consider that they have to give up their sin.
Absolutely. I can't speak for everybody. Huge part of it for me, which, because I think in the back of my mind, I always knew I was wrong about that. Like I don't think I really ever convinced myself God wasn't real. I was just like, if God's not real, then I can do all the things that I want and not worry about that.
Yeah, and we're tricked into thinking that those kinds of sins or whatever it is lead us to happiness.
Sure.
They don't.
Yeah, which it didn't. It didn't. I remember we did just talk about music. I'm a songwriter. I did write a song where I remember thinking like, I wrote down like, I hope that you're still here. I hope one day we can have a relationship. Knowing that right now, like it was, I remember it was like the first time I prayed about coming back to God and asked God to bring me back to him.
Wow.
And it was like the beginning of this journey back.
Was there a catalyst that made you start kind of just being open to it?
I'm not sure. I think it was the sense of hopelessness. Because I know the verse that I wrote that in, and that whole verse is about me essentially not being able to take it anymore, feeling so alone, and like caught up in conflict and distraction and chaos almost.
Yeah. Wow. So you found the truth, and the truth set you free.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
I can relate in a sense of confession experiences. And one that I've kind of mentioned before is I felt like I was owed an apology for something, but I probably wasn't going to get it. And then my spiritual director was like, oh, that person doesn't owe you anything, actually. And I was like, wow. Because their behavior was pretty bad, and then she said, forgiveness comes through Christ, and through Christ alone. Like, I'm like, oh, so it's not me? Like, I'm not the one forgiving people anyway, in my normal life. Like, it's all through him. So I guess she told me, or I thought, I guess I should bring this to confession, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm just having a hard time forgiving someone, and I know it's something that I should just be able to kind of give, like my love for them should just give it, but it's a challenge. And so, the priest listened to the confession, and I walked out of there, I left, and it was like weight was lifted, like, so I was like, wow, like this actually works, like I've been going to confession my whole life, but I don't know that I was doing it properly or recognizing things that I could bring in that I wasn't, and like, opening myself up, getting vulnerable. I think I got emotional even just to share that with the priest. And then, like I said, just feeling much lighter. I didn't end up needing an apology from the person. I just moved on, like,
right.
Sure.
It's fine. So
yeah, I definitely I know that my experiences in confession have always been that way. It's like you go to confession and you repeat the sin that you just committed for, like the 1000th time, and every single time that truth of you are forgiven definitely sets you free.
Yeah. I find in my own life, like it's one of the challenges I find about being a priest is that it would probably be the same for anybody living in the world, but I think there's a little more pressure for priests that you have to be Christian 24/7. Like there's no like, okay, I'm taking the next 4 hours off, I'm going to be just like a regular person who doesn't believe in Jesus. No, like I have to, like it's constant, right? So if I'm ever hanging out with friends, I have a few friends who are like secular minded and things, and if, for example, like I remember I was talking with some of them, and we were just talking about like our teen years, and I'm very blessed that the Lord has granted me the gift of preserving my body completely for Him. I've never had sex with a woman, and they were asking me about it, and I was kind of lying, and I was like, oh yeah, I slept with all my girlfriends, growing up, and afterwards I was like, whoa, I was a total hypocrite right there. Even though I'm lying about committing a sin, like why would I even want to do that? And I just totally did not have that peace at all. And I can recognize when I'm living like a hypocritical life, where it's just like, all right, on one level I'm professing that I belong totally to Jesus, but on another level I'm living like I'm not. I'm trying to live like I'm just a regular person in the world, just going through it and finding the pleasures in the world. And when I'm not living in that truth of who I am as a Christian and as a priest, I find like there's just a lack of peace. And it's probably the same way for any Christian, that like if you know who you are and you're living according to that truth, that you are a beloved son or daughter of God and you're a Christian, you profess the name of Jesus, like when you're living a double life and kind of like pretending that you're not that person, you're not that churchy person, that Jesus freak, that, who loves Jesus. Because sometimes with some friends we're like, oh yeah, I'm not that Jesus person. Maybe just on Sunday, but not now, not on Friday night. And then we find ourselves not at peace, because we're not living in the truth.
Yeah.
It could be hard to live in the truth when so many people around you are not,
Well, they may be living in the truth when they're not, like they actually don't believe in God, and they're living like they don't believe in God.
Yeah. Yeah, and they judge you for
yeah, and you just
living
feel
in the truth.
Pressure, especially like going off to college. Like there's a lot of things that go on in college, and it's like assumed everyone's doing this, and like maybe you want to fit in, or like your experience with your friends. I think a lot of people could relate to that.
Yeah, but it's so much more peaceful when you just live in the truth, whatever sacrifices may come to live in the truth. So thanks so much for joining us in this episode of Restless. We've been talking about truth. So be not afraid to live in the truth, to always speak the truth, to always be who you are. In other words, you are a beloved son or daughter of the Heavenly Father. You've joined us on 1350, Veritas Catholic Radio, and also wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in next time.